Hello, and welcome to the latest HR on the Offensive Live. It's me, Chris Howard from Lace Partners here in HQ, Lace HQ, Lace Towers, joined today by a good friend and colleague, Charlie Frost, back again for your second live stream. How you doing, man? You good?
Good, thank you, Chris. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right. Now, this is a bit of an impromptu one because yesterday, Charlie and I mean, it won't come out for a few weeks, but yesterday, Charlie and we did a podcast, a pre-recorded podcast with David Wilson from Fosway Group, and we talked about AI. And this was based on, Charlie, an event that you ran with Aaron Aubrey, our co-founder, and David, talking about kind of impacts on HR. And we talked to a few CPOs on that as well, because it's a buzz. It's a buzzword, but actually it's something, AI and the implications for businesses, as I'm sure anybody watching this will have been told a million times and will have read this a million times. It could fundamentally change the way in which people deliver their work. But you said something to me yesterday, Charlie, which made me instantly say, let's jump on the live stream and just have a chat for 5 minutes about it. And it's AI washing. So I guess for the benefit of people watching this, just wanted to kind of set the stall out so that you can tell me, as much as the people watching this video, a little bit about what exactly is AI washing. And let's talk about, if we can, just what implications could it have for HR and maybe what people can do to see if they can try to avoid it. But let's kick off with AI washing. Like, what is it?
Of course, yeah. So I think this is a really interesting concept that I myself only heard of starting to come out around May of this year. And the idea of AI washing, it's the mischaracterization or misrepresentation of AI capabilities within an organization, a system, or a tool. So it's not just from, I mean, the main example that we've seen is around kind of seeing the over badging of AI on everything tech related, but it could also be something that we start to see more within organizations where internally you start to spot that AI is coming up more and more, and it's a sort of deluge of AI everywhere. But it's starting to find out what's AI washing, similar to the phrase greenwashing, where it's overrepresenting what impact or capability AI is. Maybe it is there, but maybe it's limited, or it doesn't have the same impact that maybe someone is claiming for it to have within a tool or within a system.
Yeah, and I've read, since you talked about it, I've read briefly a couple of bits on it. There's that example that was in the media, in the press. I think there's a BBC News article which outlines it, and that is Amazon with their just walk out approach, where you could just walk out of the stores and there was cameras and it was all AI generated supposedly, but they came under a little bit of flack for some of the challenges because what was then found out was there was call centers that were actually handling a lot of the data crunching, if you like, and it wasn't specifically AI. So I guess it poses for HR professionals a few questions. I guess if you're listening to this for the first time and you're seeing AI washing, Charlie, you've just given a great example as to what it is. So that's kind of like the initial opening gambit, but how would it actually impact a HR team, a chief people officer, or a HR function? Does it have this idea of AI washing? Is it just simply, ask questions of your tech provider? Are they actually doing AI or not? Like, let's talk a little bit around the impact to HR. If you can give us a minute or two on that.
Yeah, so I think it is really important to consider what does it actually mean? Why is this relevant for a CPO or a senior HR practitioner? I think why it's relevant and a topic that I think is worth bringing to people's attention is AI can increasingly be a headache for senior HR leaders. You have this pressure potentially from within your own team. So maybe you are a senior HR practitioner and your CPO is tasking to say, why are we not looking at AI? I have a kind of fellow CPO at a different organization who's just told me about what they've implemented, or maybe it's also this pressure coming from your board of directors or your investors to say, why are we not looking into where we can be implementing AI across our business, not just in our, in our kind of front office, but also in our people function. So AI can be at the moment, quite a big headache for CPOs, that they feel under pressure, that maybe they feel they need to jump into it. Maybe they feel they're being slow and there's some urgency that we suddenly need to implement something AI, or we need to roll out some AI functionality that we previously haven't switched on in an existing system. That's often a problem case that we come across. So then there's this risk that HR functions jump into AI implementation, maybe when they aren't ready, or maybe a bit prematurely. The impact is that if you don't plan out these these implementations, these deployments, the same way you would with anything else, whether it's moving to the cloud or transforming your people function, there's a risk that that could be wasted effort and you might need to roll it back, or it's not aligned to your broader tech roadmap. But also there are some impacts where if you're jumping into AI tools, especially before you've done all the due diligence and fully understood the implications, I think there's some big implications on data protection and data ethics. So that's a conversation we often have where maybe a tech vendor that you're having a conversation said, look, we've rolled out this functionality, it's already in the system and everyone's already using it. But understanding who is using that data, so your organization's people data, is it being used to train the model? Is it being mixed with other organizations' data and it's being used more broadly? Is that something you're okay with? Is that something that actually that's unacceptable and that data is being used for purposes that you might have not fully understood when you've been understanding what's the benefit to your business? So I think it's about taking that step back and seeing, are we ready for AI? Do we fully understand the AI benefits and claims from a HR perspective that we're being sold on and encouraged to look into? And then where does it fit into our broader tech roadmap and our broader HR strategy?
Nice. And you've kind of touched on it. My sort of third and final question for today's live stream was just, how do you avoid it? And you've kind of been touching on it there, I think, when you're starting to ask yourself as a HR professional, how is our people data affected, impacted? It's like asking the right question. So, but could you just elaborate a little bit more on some thoughts around, if I'm a HR person watching this right now, I've just heard about AI washing for the first time. I don't want to bury my head in the sand and almost say, this is somebody else's problem. What are the things, is there anything practically that I can start thinking about or doing, or questions I can be asking?
So I think one of the things that we've tried to do in a lot of these live streams, podcasts and blogs around AI is, and I think this is an important thing to do, is breaking AI down into its component parts. It's a lot simpler, obviously, even ourselves today talking about it is the umbrella term, but to break it down, because actually talking about it as a single entity is often where things start to go wrong and everything gets badged AI, but what does that actually mean? One way that we like to do that is breaking it down into Copilot and Autopilot. Copilot being those tools that you're using in the flow of work, maybe like generative AI that we are increasingly using in our personal work lives. Autopilot being those always on tools. So in the background, maybe it's machine learning analytics of your data. And some of those tools have already been around for quite a long time. So Autopilot has been around and will have been in, if you've been using a tier 1 tool, HCM, it will have already been there. So I think breaking down the subject's important. I think there's also a really good link to our recent talent and skills campaign at Lace around the CPO and the HR function taking ownership of the skills element and how that links into AI. So increasingly, people functions are going to be not only, or they're going to be tasked with upskilling the business on these new skills that the transformation from AI is going to bring with it. So what skills gap do we have that AI has maybe posed now that we need to bring in new skills and skills that we no longer need? So I think one of the first steps is for people functions to upskill themselves around AI, and that education bit is really important because then themselves will be able to decide, is this tool really what we need? Is it aligned to our strategic aims? And it's only by upskilling the people function first that you'll be in the best position to upskill the wider business. So I think one of the things that you'll hear when the blog that we recorded yesterday is released is that it's as much around thinking about what's the benefit to the people function, but how, maybe it's productivity or cost saving, but also you've got to think more broadly about the workforce. How as a people function are we improving the world of work for our employees and our, prospective employees? How are we improving the employee experience overall? I think it's thinking about those elements that are really important for people functions right now. When it comes to AI and skills, how can you be set up for success to handle the challenges when you do get set that challenge of, we need to transform our people function to be more data-driven or roll out more AI functionality.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. I think I like what you said there around the almost upskilling yourselves before you start. Well, you need to be looking at the wider workforce, and had a really, really interesting chat just before we went live, actually, with Tessa Hilson Greener, who runs an organization called AI Capability, and we'll get Tessa on the pod, I think, as well, as I might get her on the live streams as well. But really, really good stuff. Thanks, Charlie. Hopefully you've enjoyed this very, very short video that we thought we'd do on AI washing. If you want to follow us, you can do so on LinkedIn or on YouTube. and we produce these live streams every week. And you can also catch the podcast on lacepartners.co.uk/podcast. But Charlie, thank you very much for jumping on with me today.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Been great to have you on. Hopefully you've enjoyed this, and hopefully catch you next time on the HR on the Offensive Live. Thank you. Bye-bye.